Gamers. What do gamers do?
Game?
Gamers game.
And what did we do in 2021? Probably
Games,
game a little.
I think.
I hope so.
A little bit.
Do we have any productive hobbies outside of that? I don't really think so.
I'll have you know that I have very productive hobbies of wasting time.
With games. So what are we talking about today, Ryan?
Games that gamers like ourselves have played, specifically in the year of 2021, which was last year, because this year is 2022.
Ryan, I'm really glad that math degree is working for you. You added one to a year. It's pretty impressive.
I had to stop and think about it for a minute, but luckily it came in real handy in the moment.
So what'd you play last year, Ryan? Why don't you enlighten us? Did you play anything new? Anything old?
New, old. I played. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off, and I'm gonna have to apologize to gamers out there. I played a Sonic game. I played a lot of Sonic games, actually. I didn't finish most of them.
There you go. That's at least better.
Gary and I had a bit of a Sonic-thon one weekend. When
it was a sampling, I would say. A
sampling.
Testing, except for one, but you know.
And the general pattern that I had with a lot of the Sonic games, not for all of them, but for several of them, was like, okay, you boot up the game. We get a fun CGI of Sonic. He's going fast. I like going fast. And then we kick in the gameplay where you go fast. You know what I like? I like going fast. And then level 2 happens. And then usually you don't go very fast in level 2, and I immediately start to lose interest.
Yeah, sometimes it'd be like that. But you did play through Sonic Adventure 1 in its entirety.
I did do. Yes,
like a true based individual.
Every single all the boys, and girl, all the different campaigns.
And robot.
Robot.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
We don't want to misgender the robot. You're right. This is a safe space for robots. And it was fun. I genuinely had a good time. I am ashamed to say that I had a genuinely good time playing.
Who was
Sonic Advance 1?
Who was your it's Adventure 1?
Yes.
First of all, but who was your favorite character to play as?
Well, definitely Sonic, because it was all about going fast.
Yeah, he's the best.
And I think that's probably part of what helped was the fact that I got to level 2, and it was another level where I got to go fast. And I think we just did Sonic's campaign pretty much all the way through, and then I think I started to kind of mix up the other campaigns, like I would do a little bit of one campaign and then maybe jump into another one.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think helped like the variety and the option I think helped a lot. And yeah, we did all of them, and I had a good time. I was surprised to come out of it, and like Big the Cat wasn't my least favorite campaign. Big the Cat.
It only has 4 levels.
It only has 4 levels.
They're very short.
And Amy only has 3. So like the 2 worst campaigns are by far the shortest in the entire game.
Yeah, Amy was definitely my least favorite.
She's so slow.
She's slow, and I don't really care for the idea of her levels, like trying to like do things around the level while being chased by a robot. Was for the most part what it was, and I don't know. It just wasn't it wasn't quite what I enjoyed. Biggs was pretty simple, and Froggy was very easy to catch, so I didn't really have that many complaints with that.
A lot of people do.
Lots of people do. Omega was fun. We got some good laughs out of, or Gamma.
You're thinking of the
one that the later one. Yeah, Gamma was fun. We went around and murdered all of his brothers.
You rescued him, first of all.
You're right. We rescued them.
And all's well ends well.
Yeah, of course.
And then I think I enjoyed both Tails and Knuckles pretty much equally. They would both probably be pretty close second place. I don't really know which one I preferred over the other. And then probably Gamma, which I enjoyed Gamma, and then Big, and then Amy was probably the one campaign that I didn't really enjoy at all. But yeah, Sonic Adventure 1.
Did you guys play the original or the director's cut?
We played the Steam version, which is the director's cut, but I had a mod installed that was the
Yes.
Dreamcast enhancement, I guess, or it made it to look like the Dreamcast and it played like the Dreamcast, but it still had all the extra stuff that director's cut had. So like it was the best of both worlds. So it was the definitive way to play it.
Yeah. We had a good laugh at the end after we beat Chaos. Is that what it is? His name's Chaos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, we did it, Patrick. We saved the city.
It's literally
we are
destroyed.
There is we're in a flooded city. There are
The city is
bodies
leveled.
floating in the water. And Tails is like, all that's well that ends well. Just not reading the room at all. It was good.
Yeah,
We
it
had a
was
good
great.
laugh out of that. And then we jumped right into Sonic Adventure 2 and couldn't even get the first level to load.
It crashed
So,
like 3 times. The Steam port's very, very buggy, and I don't have a GameCube copy on hand.
yeah,
So-
so
Well, that's like the
Sad.
only good Sonic game. That's very sad.
Wrong.
yeah, sadly
but
I
anyway.
didn't get, we didn't get to that, but it's okay. Someday we'll get there.
Tip, what did you play last year? Let's rotate. Let's do a round robin. How about?
Oh, round robin. Well, now this will surprise you because this isn't really my forte. But I played a lot of Metroidvanias last year.
No way.
It sounds strange. I know, crazy. But I played so many Metroidvanias, and the vast majority of them were pretty good. And I feel like I have a pretty discerning eye on a good Metroidvania. But obviously, the big one was Metroid Dread, which actually released last year and is one of the few games from last year I played. It's very good. Metroid Prime 4 is never going to exist. So I'm really glad that we got something to replace the hole in my heart that Metroid Prime 4 is leaving.
But we got a banner on Twitter.
Yeah, they updated their banner on Twitter. Great. It's the first
Samus in a
breathing
blue room.
Ooh, yeah, great. The fan
It's
base went
right.
wild. Absolute morons. but
It's
fine.
almost into pre-production.
almost in the no. They're still hiring. They're still
still
trying to
hiring.
figure out what Metroid Prime 4 is even going to be. They've gotten as far as it will include a hallway. The color blue is also included, and Samus will be there. And it's like, wow, guys, you've done some great work in 4.5
surprise.
years.
Things are
No,
looking up.
Dread was great though. I mean,
Dread was
Yeah.
awesome.
Dread exceeded my expectations. I'm really not. I'm honestly not like a huge Metroid guy, but like that was great. I played Fusion in preparation for this. But yeah, no, this was a great entry.
I actually played through all the Metroids. Now I didn't even put that on my list, but now that we're talking about it, I'm like, wait a minute. I played all the Metroids this year, except for or last year. I didn't play Prime, but all the 2D ones leading up to Dread.
I'm glad you're a part of the fandom now. You too can cry and scream for
cultured.
Metroid Prime 4 or
You're
Metroid 6, because Metroid 6 would come before Metroid Prime 4 at this
I
point.
can't cry Metroid Prime 4. I haven't played the first 3 yet, but I'll get there eventually.
Prime
I actually
what?
I am gonna have to do that because now Nintendo's closing up all their online stores, so now I got to go buy it on Wii U before it's gone forever.
I thought the Wii U store already closed. Never mind.
No, it's still there. I think.
Oh,
I think I'll have to double check, but
So say you might be screwed already.
yeah, we'll
But-
see.
Did Dread. That was pretty good. After that, I think it's before that actually, technically, because I believe it came out like a couple weeks before. But the Castlevania Advanced Collection, so I got to relive the Castlevania days, and
Yeah,
I
that
only
was
ever played
cool.
2 of those.
I watched you play that. I like what was the one with the cards? The card
The
system.
one with the cards is
Something of the Moon.
Curse of the Moon. It's Curse of the Moon, which is the first
Circle of the
the
Moon, or-
trilogy. Or sorry, Circle of the Moon, not Curse of the Moon. Circle of the Moon, which is the first of the little trilogy, and it's kind of weird because it doesn't really have anything to do with any Castlevania character. It's like the studio that made it basically did a bunch of OCs. They don't matter
Castlevania fan fiction with trading cards.
with like the tarot cards.
Tarot
and, like,
cards.
the tarot cards are like abilities and enhancements that allow you to like explore the castle. Obviously, like you can like summon monsters with some of the cards. You can do like fun spells with other cards. It's neat. It was a fun system. Second one existed. That's great, I guess. And then the third, which is Aria of Sorrow. They always have ridiculous names. It's hard to remember which one's which. Aria of Sorrow was fantastic. I never actually played that one, and I would say that Aria of Sorrow should be as well loved as Symphony of the Night because it was really good.
That's a bold statement.
it is a bold statement, but I think that if REOSR wasn't on the Game Boy Advance and had been put out on, a more high-powered machine, I think it would be just as loved. Because it was fantastic. And maybe it sells well enough, the Advanced Collection, and we get the DS Collection. Maybe the DS Collection sells well enough. Maybe we'll get a real Castlevania again. Wouldn't that be great? Please.
Doubt. But yeah.
And then rounding out my my Metroidvania forays last year was Ender Lilies, Quietest of the Nights, which was a nice little Steam game. It was in early access for a bit. People were wondering if it was going to be good. Spoiler alert, it was really good. And I played through it. It was like, man, well done. Loved every second of it. It was like a week later, I was still thinking about the game, so I went and played it again all the way through.
Nice.
So if you like Metroidvanias, you can go pick that up. Although it's not on Steam anymore, exclusively. It's also like on Switch, PlayStation, probably Xbox. I don't know anyone that owns one of those, but probably Xbox as well. So probably. It was a good year for Metroidvanias.
I'll swing back.
What did you play besides playing Sonic?
I'll do a keep on the kind of high profile titles, I guess. Well, I guess we all played Monster Hunter, which I can't believe came out last year.
That feels like an eternity ago.
That was almost a year ago, because that was March, right?
It was almost a year ago. But Rise was, I mean, they took some more steps to make it more streamlined, kind of like what World did. I think being a year into it, I think I enjoyed World more, just because it wasn't on the Switch. I think is being on the Switch, I think is the biggest drawback of Rise, because I think on the Switch works good for stuff like Gen Ultimate, because it's not like super graphically intensive. But for the fluidity and like just the good mechanics of Rise, I think the Switch makes it hold back a bit. But it's on Steam now, and I might pick it up when it goes on sale and give it another go then. But I mean, I still like that's just me nitpicking. I still thoroughly loved Rise because, the Monster Hunter formula is fantastic, and it's a blast. A lot of the new monster designs were a ton of fun. The weapons were good, and I think the wirebug moves were also a nice addition that didn't feel too gimmicky.
I almost feel like I do kind of agree that I think overall World's probably a better experience, just especially with Iceborne also tacked onto it. But I feel like I would have a really hard time going back to World without like the wirebug and some of the mechanics that Rise introduced.
Oh, just the mobility changes.
Yeah, the mobility in Rise is so good with the wirebugs. Like I don't ever want to lose them. I hope they keep these around. I hope these aren't like a one-game gimmick, or if they, or maybe they'll evolve it over the course of the next game. We'll see. But
I think it's like a double-edged sword. Like I like the way it feels. It definitely feels really good to play, but I also really enjoy the slower combat of like Gen Ultimate and stuff like that. It gave Monster Hunter a really unique feel to it, as opposed to like another action game. I mean, it still has a very unique feel. But like the slower pace, I think, was pretty iconic to Monster Hunter up until like Iceborne.
I think they've been really doing a lot with like trying to do more like flashy, like flipping around doing stuff. Because in like
anime moves,
in Ultimate they introduced like all those fighting styles, which I really thought was really super cool, because I really liked using the aerial style on certain weapons. And then in Iceborne they added like the hook shot grapple claw thingy, and
so I hate the clutch claw. I think
the clutch claw was great, but
it was okay at first, but like once you kind of understood how it worked, I felt it was a little bit too gimmicky, because you kind of had to use it on every fight, or else you were severely hurting your damage. Like if you weren't knocking the monster into a wall at every possible moment that it was available to, then you were kind of just like hamstringing yourself. And so it just kind of became like a tedious thing you had to do, as opposed to like, I mean, they added a ton of different moves in Iceborne. Like the dual blades you could use the slingshot rock and like do a flip mid combo and get out of the way. And I thought it kept like stuff like that, I think is really good. But like things that you're kind of forced to do, like the knocking them into walls. Yeah, I think that kind of detracts from the experience a little bit.
Well, you also had to like scar their certain spots. Then
Yes,
like, you had
that
to hit
was
it enough
super
with the clutch
annoying.
claw.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
the worst part.
I hate it. Sorry, that was worse than the knocking. I think the knocking wasn't too bad, but like having to do that and clutch claw back on. So like you were constantly
You're
clutch clawing onto
constantly,
them.
yeah.
And so, I mean, it kind of lost some of the identity from a lot of the weapons because every single one pretty much had to do that. Even if you were, I mean, I know they had the heavier weapons had the single clutch claw attack could weaken it, and then the lighter weapons had double, but you know, you still had to do it.
Yeah, and Rise did away with that for the most part. You still had the like mounting the monster, in which they've changed. You know, they've kind of changed that every iteration to now you kind of
Yeah.
control the monster and can
I like that a
smack
lot.
other monsters. And that's a lot of fun. I think and it's different and dynamic with every monster, which makes it feel unique. Even if it is kind of like every fight you're going to do it at least once or twice.
But like if you're having trouble with a fight, you can decide to take some time, go somewhere else, find a weaker monster, mount it, and then bring it over to the monster you're trying to fight and do some serious damage to it. So, but like it's a time trade-off though. Like it's going to take more time to do, but you're going to have an easier time fighting the monster. And I think stuff like that is good. But like more experienced players don't necessarily need that. They can just get on the monster and knock it into a wall and be done with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think things like that is just like while World probably overall is a better game, I think just those kind of tweaks that Rise made going back to World would be harder for me.
Yeah, I think we hit the late game so quick. We beat the game in like a week. Like we've done pretty much.
We
everything.
Also played it 24/7. Like we still had hundreds of hours into it.
Yeah.
Did we? I guess we did. I feel like I hit like 80-ish hours. Where in World, I wasn't really done with World until like 150 or 200. Which is still a ton of time. I shouldn't be complaining about that.
It's all going to change.
It's so addictive.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that will change.
Who knows? It could be as changing as Iceborne was. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that's enough about that. Ryan, back to you.
So I played Monster Hunter Rise. I also played Metroid Dread. Going back to Metroidvanias for just a hot minute. I played Ori, the first one, which I already talked about when we talked about Metroid way back. And that was fun, and I enjoyed that. And I do want to play Ori, the second one. I just haven't gotten to it yet. And I also played SteamWorld Dig, the first one, not the second one.
Oh, that's a shame. So the first one's fun, but the second one is just.
I really,
so good.
I really had a blast with the first one, and you know, I guess it's kind of a Metroidvania, but it doesn't feel like it at the same time. You know, because it's just digging straight down, and it's a pretty linear path, but there's still like a sense of exploration because it goes down so far, and you know, you can go pretty far left and right, and finding your tunnels and going backtracking to gather resources. It was I really enjoyed that. I thought it was
a good gameplay loop.
Yeah. A lot of replay value, I think, too. I didn't end up doing that just because I had so many other games and other things to do. But you know, if you really get a kick out of that game, I'm assuming that it's randomly generated, so you can just keep doing it over and over again and have a different experience each time.
It's also relatively short. Pretty inexpensive as well. Like if it's something you could just play for like a night or two and like have it done in the weekends.
I think I legitimately got it for free because it was like on sale on the eShop, and I used my gold coins to buy it at like $1.50 or something
nice.
like that. So yeah, you can get it dirt cheap, and it's super fun. And then those are the two other Metroidvanias I played, which are pretty good.
You should look into getting the second one, because the second one doubles down on the Metroidvania mechanics. Like it feels way more like a Metroidvania than the first game does, and it has also like the first game has a story, but it's like pretty much just keep digging. Like it's the whole point.
Yeah, just keep.
Second game has like actually a narrative with like the characters change over time. Like it has a pretty good sense of humor. So if you enjoyed the first one, the second one is just an improvement in every single way.
Yeah, I want to get to that. I just maybe next time it'll go on sale at some point, I'm sure, and I'll grab it.
What you got, Tip?
For me, well, at one point I became obsessed with a certain series, and blew through a few of them, and I
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
need to get back to that. But I had always been intrigued by a series known as Ys, which is YS for those of you who don't speak weird. But Ys is a series that has been around for decades. Like, it's kind of up there with the original JRPGs, like Final Fantasy, Shin Megami Tensei, or actually just Megami Tensei originally, but like it's up there around the same time when it was made, and no one seems to care about this series. And I wanted to see what it was about, how it plays, and by God, they're pretty good. So I played Ys 1, 2, 3, and 4, all within what, like a month?
Mad lad.
It was like a month and a half. Had a blast. The lore of these games is pretty sweet, and I like the way that it builds upon each one. The soundtrack is also really, really good in each game. And the only reason why I stopped was because I realized that I'd blown through 4 of these in, just as many weeks. I should probably stop before I burn out on the entire franchise.
Yeah.
But should get back into playing that. The 9th one came out last year, and that's kind of what prompted the whole thing. Is I saw that the 9th game, which is called Monstrum Nox, by the way, an utterly ridiculous name, which I love. And I saw that was coming out. I'd always been curious about the series. I figured I'd finally take the plunge and play through the first few games. And it's kind of weird because the games have pretty different mechanics as you go through it. The first games are really simple, where you kind of just bump into enemies. I think they actually literally call it the bump system. And then the next game is kind of like a top-down action RPG. And then basically the next few games after that are 3D action RPGs, kind of similar to Kingdom Hearts, like more real time than that.
Like Tales.
Yeah, but Tales still has like the arenas get like cordoned off.
Oh,
and
okay.
everything.
Gotcha. It's more action, like an actual action RPG.
Yeah, like you can keep running around, like you can just straight up keep going forever and like pulling enemies and things like that. Like it's the area is a little bit more open. So like I was saying, like more like Kingdom Hearts, where like each zone you can just keep like fighting and stuff like that. It just doesn't have the like forms and magic and stuff like that. But it's each game keeps changing it up a little bit, and there's kind of like a running gag with it that I also enjoy. That the main character basically gets amnesia, or like hits his head hurt in each game. It kind of just, so he just forgets his last adventure, and by the end he's like, wait a second, I'm a badass. I've had so many adventures. And it's kind of funny, almost like Metroid, where like Samus loses her powers mysteriously in every game somehow. It's like, why isn't he a badass anymore? Oh, that's right, because he's got amnesia again. But they were fun. If you're curious about like how JRPG started, like, if you enjoyed the original Final Fantasies or like the original SMT games, then you should check out the Ys series. But that's enough of my JRPG nonsense.
Maybe
Did you
one
play any JRPGs there, Grep?
Oh, did I? JRPGs, you say? only the game I've been waiting for like 10 years. So SMT5 came out, and I started
It sucked, right? Yeah.
I started it last year, but I finished it kind of recently. I gotta say it was a ton of fun. Is it the best SMT game in hindsight? I mean, I loved 3 was my like favorite game, but I think 4 was probably the best, like objectively speaking, the best game in the series. But 5 was a ton of fun. It lived up, it exceeded expectations. And there's a lot of good stuff about it. It kind of trimmed the fat on a lot of the random encounters. Like obviously there's no random encounters anymore. You kind of just run into things, kind of how like you did in 4, but in a more open world environment. It feels like a long string of mini boss fights, which is a ton of fun, because the way SMT works is essentially you're building a party kind of like a puzzle, and you kind of got to figure out what puzzle pieces will work for which bosses, essentially. And you just do that like a billion times, and it's a ton of fun. And it was just a constant stream of fusing new demons with a ton of flashy moves and a lot of quality of life things. And it had a pretty solid story. I mean, obviously, it's a really weak story compared to like any other JRPG, but SMT has never really been about that. And I think that's the biggest complaint I see, is that like JRPG fans are looking for a really in-depth story, but you're not really getting that. You're getting more of a monster building, team building, puzzle ish kind of game. If that
Yeah,
makes
they've always
any
felt
sense.
pretty gameplay focused.
But amazing game, amazing soundtrack. The only complaints I really have is that the end game super bosses, you'd have to, once you beat the game, and between that and then being able to beat the super boss and the DLC boss, you'd have to do like 20 to 30 hours of perfecting a party. And that's something I just don't want to do. So I didn't do it.
But the clout, you got to do it for the
Thanks.
clout.
I'm not
Say that
doing
you
that.
did it.
Definitely not. I highly recommend playing it. It's an amazing entry into the series if you haven't played before.
You also
Please,
don't need to play the others either.
You don't
SMT
need to play
series
the
aren't really
others.
connected.
I mean, there's like references and stuff, but they're never ever directly connected unless it's like Persona 2 Innocence and Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, something like that. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. It's just very good. Thank you for making it so good.
Finally, Atlas releasing SMT5.
Atlas always makes good stuff. It's just
It can take them a while.
it's gonna take them a while, yeah.
It's crazy to think that was one of the games that was announced when they launched the Switch
Uh-huh.
in like January of, well, when they announced the Switch in January, of what? That was 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was clear from that trailer, even the first trailer, that they were remodeling every single demon
Yeah.
and every single thing and doing a whole new engine. And the new engine looks fantastic. It probably is the best looking game on the Switch, but the Switch couldn't handle it. On launch, it was practically unplayable due to the frame rate issues. They fixed it since then to where, I mean, it's playable now. You can still see frame rate drops in certain spots, but they come a long way. And I wish it wasn't on the Switch.
I'm sure it's only a matter of time before it gets ported to something else.
Yeah, if it gets ported to Steam, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Atlas has been porting a lot of their stuff to Steam, so I mean that could happen sooner than later.
Yeah, Golden came over, Nocturne came over with the HD remake. So yeah, I don't see why not, unless they have some sort of super licensing deal for a very long time. I wish they ported SMT4 because the 3DS shop's going down soon, so now would be the time to pick it up before it goes down.
Yeah.
Ryan turn.
I also played a little JRPG, classic meme joke. It's little made by a little indie dev named Square Enix. You'd never heard of him.
Ooh.
Hilarious and original joke. I played Final Fantasy VII, and what you're thinking is, oh, he played the new one. No, I played the old one.
I thought you played both.
I was gonna play both, and then
You didn't play
Haven't-
remake?
I haven't gotten to the remake yet.
Oh.
I bought it, but I haven't played it yet. Hopefully that'll be for next year's discussion. I hope.
Did you buy Integrate by any chance? The upgrade or whatever?
I got the PlayStation 5 version.
Okay, so you do have integrated. Cool.
Yeah. Yep. So I played old school Final Fantasy on and its glorious polygons, and it was a good time. I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, I played it recently too, and I was very surprised that. I mean, yeah, obviously the graphics are dated, but I'm surprised at how well the fun held up.
Yeah, just the whole like combat experience, building your party, the materia system, summons, it all works really well. It's all really fun.
It was charming too.
I will say that I played I think every version now is like this. I played it on Switch, and it comes with like certain features like turning off random encounters and ×3 like speed ups,
I did not have
fast forward.
that.
And that like I'm like literally sometimes I'd be playing this game like I don't think I'd be able to do this if I couldn't turn off random encounters or fast forward through like certain animations, because it would just walking around certain areas can take forever. And I think that helped tremendously. Obviously there's like always that concern of like, oh, am I going to become under leveled because I'm turning off random encounters sometimes, but it never really was a problem.
It's more a
And,
materia thing in that game than a level
Oh
thing.
yeah. The gear is way
And
more important.
equipment.
Yeah, so that was a godsend. I don't know how well I would have done if I didn't have that, but So I would definitely recommend playing it with those features. There's also a cheat mode that I wouldn't recommend. It's basically just let you win. But the
That's
main
what they're doing
things
with a
are-
lot of old RPGs that being ported, because a lot of the old RPGs, they do have a ton of padding in them where
Mm.
like you're running around getting random encounters, you're not really doing anything new or exciting.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
helpful.
It trims the fat.
Like the speeding up the battle speeds or being able to turn off random encounters and things like that. Square's been doing that a lot with basically
Yeah,
every
Bravely Default.
release that they've been doing, and even even like the newer titles as well. So it helps to cut down on that like old school JRPG grind where it feels like a slog, because it is.
I have such a hard time going back and playing old RPGs or new RPGs that have random encounters. Like when Diamond and Pearl came out, the remakes came out, I was like, I am not going to play those. Maybe I'll play it someday. We'll see if I feel like it. And then I saw a video of someone who got like back-to-back random encounters running in the grass. I'm like, random encounters. Never mind. I'm never playing this game. So yeah, I am glad that we're seeing that less and less over time, because it definitely feels like it was of an era, and I don't need it anymore. So, but Final Fantasy VII, it has random encounters, but it's fun, and you can turn the random encounters off. So that's really nice. Anyways, speaking of Final Fantasy VII and the remake that I haven't played, there have been a couple of remakes that a couple of us have played this year, last year.
I was going to say last year now. But yeah, you should play 7 remake now that you have all the context from original 7. It'll be fun.
I hopefully next year when we have this discussion, I will be talking about 7 remake.
I hope so. I'll keep you to that promise, because you
I'm
obviously
now
just
that
made a promise.
now it's in writing, I have
Yeah.
to do it.
Written in blood. But no, the remaster that I played was Demon Souls remastered.
Yes.
It was very good. I have said for years that if someone said like, "Hey, what's your favorite Souls game?" I usually said Demon Souls. People are like, "What?" And I'm like, "It's the one it's before Dark Souls, Sony exclusive." I'm like, you know what? Never mind. I like Dark Souls. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I like Dark Souls too." I'm like, "Fine, whatever." And nowadays, like Demon Souls isn't nearly as niche. Like people actually know that it exists. But back in 2013 or whatever it was, I'm trying to remember when that game came out, but people didn't know that it existed, and everyone always thought I was just saying Dark Souls, but stupidly, like Demon Souls, I mean Dark Souls. I'm like, no, but whatever. But anyway, PS5 comes out and they show off this beautiful trailer that was just the Demon Souls opening and just absolute glorious HD. And I was excited, played through it, and it was everything that I'd always imagined. And then I realized I actually don't like Demon Souls as my favorite Souls game. That's a lie.
Nostalgia
So-
glasses, my guy.
It was definitely like nostalgia goggles. I still really enjoy Demon
Loved
Souls.
it, yeah.
If you haven't played it, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to get a hold of because PS5s are still like rarer than anything. But if you can get a chance to play Demon Souls Remastered, I highly recommend it if you're even remotely a fan of the Souls series or like that type of gameplay. And you can see where all the mechanics come from and like how all the tropes began, because it's a ton of fun. And the remastered version is the definitive way to play it. It adds a couple quality of life things, like being able to roll in any direction. It's such a godsend.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so glad.
I can't believe they only had cardinal direction rolling in the original.
I still go back to Dark Souls 1. Even Dark Souls Remastered has cardinal direction, I'm pretty sure.
It might. I actually haven't played that.
Which is a pain. I go back. I think Dark Souls 1 is still my favorite. But like, yeah, that cardinal direction rolling is a pain in the butt.
It was just stuff like that. The storage, they changed the way the storage system works, so it's no longer as much of a pain in the ass. So it was a really good remaster. It kind of just like it reaffirmed why I love Demon Souls and why I like the Souls series so much, and then showed off. No, Dark Souls 3 is my favorite. I've been lying all these years.
I thought you
So
liked
that's
Bloodborne.
funny.
No, we're not talking about that now.
Oh, sorry. Are we making this a 2-hour long podcast?
Oh, sorry.
My apologies,
Maybe
good
for
sir.
another time.
Another
Open
time.
up that can of worms.
But
Bluepoint did an amazing job. Like they're so faithful.
They've done an amazing job
to
with
the original content. They did Shadow of the Colossus. They did Ratchet and
Yeah.
Clank, I think, right? Or I don't remember what they did.
No, they did. They did do something else. It wasn't Ratchet and Clank because Insomniac did
that was
Ratchet and
Insomniac.
Clank
Oh,
remake.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the Shadow of the Colossus remake, like, I mean, I can't believe how like good it looks and how faithful it was. And then they always add like, they never add new mechanics really, but they like tweak some things and then that like no one would ever miss. And then they always add like one little like secret thing that like that's super hard to get or whatever. Like for like Demon Souls, they have like some you have to do like a trillion different things and play the game like 4 times or so, and you get like a special armor set, and it's really cool.
Yeah, an armor set that should have been in the original game, but it
should have been. Yeah, but they didn't add
a cool set.
They wanted to be faithful.
Yeah.
And Demon Souls, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. My favorite part about it is how non-linear you can make it. You can essentially go to any of the areas you want to first, because I think like every area scales the same way. So you can go to like 1-1 and it'll be like the same essentially ish the same difficulty as like 5-1. Yeah. Like there might be some variances, but like you'll go as far as you can into the first world and then hit a wall and then okay, I can't really do this right now. Let me go to like world 3 and check it out and get up to like a certain point in world 3 and then come back to it later. I think that was the coolest part because you can replay it and have a different experience.
Oh yeah, it's super open like how you tackle it, especially with the classic Souls formula of different builds, different weapons, different spells, and everything. So like you'll go to different areas and you'll beat an area in an entirely different way because of it, and because you beat that area like faster than the others, maybe you got like a different armor set, a different weapon type, like faster than you did in your first playthrough. So it's pretty dynamic in how you tackle it in repeat playthroughs for New Game Plus, New Game Plus, like however far you want to go. It adds a lot of variety.
It just looked and felt so great. All the mechanics were just pinpoint. The PS5 controller, like you really appreciate that PS5 controller in that game. I can't believe how
DualSense felt so good with that.
I can't believe how good it feels to play on a PS5 controller.
Oh, I didn't realize we were Sony shills, but yeah, the DualSense is really good for every game I played
it's really
on
good.
It so far. The sound design in that game was so good. Oh my god, am I gonna play Demon Souls Remastered?
Again? I'm gonna play.
Gotta play.
Get a game.
Because we're gamers.
Oh man, it was very good. But that was I think it was really the only remake or remaster I played. Did you play any remakes or remasters besides that one, Grip, last year?
I played. Let's see here. Yes, I played P5 Royal, which came out. When did that come out? Did that come out 2020? I
think that actually came out 2020.
But I played it in 2021, and I'm mixed about it because like I half regret it because I put 100 hours into it, and it is essentially Persona 5 again. It's the definitive version of Persona 5. Don't get me wrong. It is way better than the original, but is it worth playing again? I would say so. I think it's if you spent enough time between the two playthroughs. I played Persona 5 on release, and I played it again in 2021 with Royal. And I did thoroughly enjoy it, but it was around the 100-hour mark. I was feeling the strain for sure. But I think that just might be me and my attitude towards JRPGs nowadays.
Yeah.
For the additions they've added, Kasumi I think is a really good character. Good character. The new confidants are phenomenal. The whole third act, which I won't spoil for Tip because he hasn't played it yet, is really, really good. I think it's a phenomenal third act. I thought one misconception I thought the third act was going to be like a third semester where it was like a whole, like essentially a whole school semester. It was more like just one extra, what do they call them? Palaces. It's like essentially one extra palace, but like pretty big.
Yeah, it's bigger than normal.
Which is fine. It was just a misconception I had. Problem Kasumi, you can't use Kasumi until the very end.
That was a bummer.
That's a huge bummer because they plastered her over all the promotional art. And she has a really cool design with the guns and the stuff, but you can't use her.
She's in the game pretty much throughout all of it from like start to finish, but you don't get her until that last semester.
They do a good job of building her up. The problem with Haru in the original game was you didn't see her like at all,
Yeah.
and then you get her and you
She's
have like two
in
palaces
she'll
left.
show up in the background of random scenes, but
Yeah,
doesn't
and-
actually do anything.
So now I think Haru has a decent enough screen time. So that fixed her, but then Kasumi has the issue of just not being in the party enough.
Yeah.
They added passives for a lot of the demons, which I thought was really cool. And something desperately needed to differentiate them. I wish they brought that over to SMT5, but they added some other things in SMT5 that that helped out. But the passives were kind of like abilities in Pokemon, where like sometimes they'd have like, hey, like fire abilities are half off, or they do something a little bit more unique than that. It was a little something extra that helped out. I will say I played it on merciless difficulty. It was really easy.
Oh,
Royal's difficulty got toned down a ton compared to the base game.
really?
Yeah, to where it was practically even on the hardest difficulty, it was still. I felt like I was playing it maybe on normal.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
You're just
I,
too good at
I
gaming.
think the changes, the biggest change is that weak attacks, I think, do triple damage to both you and the enemy on merciless. So you can melt the enemy, and you just have to make sure that you don't have any weaknesses that they can hit. So you set yourself up for a boss fight, and you're probably fine.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I will say it was a tad easier, especially with all the additions. But other than that, I mean, it was amazing game. The new sound, what's the new song called? Takeover. Takeover's an amazing soundtrack or an amazing song. And they do the thing where I think if you get attacked, it plays the old song, it plays Last Surprise. But if you do a sneak attack, it does Takeover. And I like that a lot. They did the same thing with Persona 4 Golden, with Time to Make History and whatever the heck the other one was called, Reach Out to the Truth.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that because all of the soundtracks and all the Persona and SMT games they're bangers, and I think they're unparalleled, honestly. But yeah, I'll stop shilling. it was a really good game. It definitely wore on me though because of my attitude towards RPGs, and I would recommend it to anyone, new and old, to Persona 5.
Yeah, I thought that they did a really good job. I was engaged the entire time, even as someone who'd played the original, just because they were putting it. They weaved in enough new stuff throughout the entire game that I was constantly like, oh, I don't remember this, or this is something new. I wonder where this is going to go.
I'm surprised they did that because I felt like original PS5 was already filled out pretty good. If you played Persona 3 or 4, there was a lot of empty space in those games, especially in 3. Where in Persona 5, I felt like you never really had any downtime. You were either doing like something, you were either progressing a confidant or doing a story scene. There wasn't huge gaps of time where you were just powering through like a stat or something, and you're just going through like a week at a time where you didn't do anything. And they just pumped even more stuff into Royal, and I'm surprised how they did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else, Ryan? Anything else you want to discuss?
Well, we were talking about remakes, and I do have one of those. But if we're talking about Persona 5 Royal, I should probably talk about Persona 5 Strikers.
Oh yeah,
which is a sequel. It's in canon sequel to Persona 5, not Royal.
Royal's not canon.
Royal's not canon. Takes place after the original game, and it is just like, it is a Warriors game, but it is a Warriors game with a very thick layer of paint that is Persona. It is essentially, it's really more of a Persona 5 game than it is a Warriors game, in my opinion, because it's pretty much Persona 5 until you hit that enemy encounter, and then it turns into a Warriors game where you have like a small, like kind of mini Warriors encounter instead of a turn-based combat system. But even within the Warriors combat, you still have all of your
weaknesses and the Persona switching and all that noise and
have
whatever they're called, all-out attacks.
Yep, it's all there. They integrated a lot of the mechanics into the game really nicely, and it gives us more time with those characters, which is a lot of fun. That's something I
Mhm.
appreciate. They added in new characters, which are also a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed their inclusion.
All the
So-
spin-offs add pretty fun side characters that are just they're fun to be around. That's what they did in Q. I didn't play Q2, but in Q, they had some pretty fun side characters that joined you for just that.
And I think this one, it does a good job of like not it just feels different enough from the first game or from 5, and they do something different because you're going on a road trip in this game.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're
cool.
as you're progressing through the story, instead of always going to Shibuya, you start in Shibuya and you can run around Shibuya and it looks like the Shibuya from the first game, from Persona 5. But then you start your road trip and you go to different cities around Japan, and they're all different, and they all have like different quirks and stores and interactions with
That's
characters
neat.
and stuff like that.
Are there
So-
different cities in Japan that aren't Tokyo? I don't believe you. Because
Did you play
the
Persona
SMT
4?
series?
I know it's
is,
hard to believe.
Pretty obsessed with Tokyo.
Persona 4 went to the countryside.
Yeah, so I did play that. And then if we're talking about a remaster, I played, and this is a big one for me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I played Mass Effect Legendary
Oh,
Edition.
yeah.
All 3 Mass Effect games, big gamer energy.
And the only 3 Mass Effect games.
The only
No
3
more.
Mass Effect games. And yeah, so these
All 3 fans are very upset with that statement.
I'm one of them now. But
Sorry, he was talking about Andromeda.
I've been talking about
right,
Andromeda.
never mind. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind. I haven't played that.
No one has.
No. Yeah, no, I played a Legendary Edition. I had a lot of fun with it. I quite enjoyed the I'd never played a BioWare game. I don't think.
It's different.
Wait. No, I have. I played the Sonic Chronicles, of course.
I'm like,
Oh,
did you
idiot.
play? Yeah.
I can't believe you played that.
I played Sonic Chronicles.
You played all the
best BioWare
weird
game.
You played all the weird Sonic games. You played all the weird Kingdom Hearts stuff, but you never played any of the mainline stuff. Then
Sorry, I've played one BioWare game, and now I've played Mass Effect Legendary. Took me a long ass time to do, because it's 3 games, and I am very like I'm pretty slow at games. I've found out, and I'm also like pretty thorough. So I was doing a lot of the side stuff, and Legendary Edition also comes with like all the DLCs, and so I did all of that too. It is I mean, you can buy that for $60 or whatever it is when it's on sale, and I think that's a great value. You're gonna get a lot out of it, and I did the Paragon. I did Paragon, and there was a part when I was playing through the game, I'm like, I should do Renegade after this. But then by the time I'd finished 3, I'm like, I think I've had enough.
it's a
of Mass
lot.
Effect.
It's a
So
lot
much
to do.
content.
I don't think I
I
have the energy.
always say that for games that have like alignment systems. Like I'm gonna do the evil alignment now
Yeah.
or whatever, and I just never do it.
I am curious because I feel like it does like I really like how it's the idea of having like a trilogy or like having several games, and it links your saves so that the decisions you made in a past game affects the later games. And I don't think we have a lot of games that do that, probably because it's really hard and complicated. But
it's also a pain.
That's
in the
exactly
butt,
the reason
yeah.
why.
Yeah.
And they kind of didn't necessarily stick the landing for some of the choices, like the way that it goes from one game to the next. So
it
I don't
kills me
know.
that the decisions you make, like they affect you as you play the game more than it does like the ending. Like no matter what you do, you're always going to pretty much get one of like 3 endings. And all those endings are all pretty similar, I feel like, and like your decisions before that don't really matter, but other decisions that you make, you're based off of how you perform in 2 is going to completely change how you play through 3, because it could be like all your friends from 2 died in the final mission and they're not in 3 anymore, which I don't even know how that would work in some cases. I'm like, this character's literally like centerpiece pivotal to this whole plot point. How do we do, what happens if he's not here? Like, I don't understand. I'm sure he's just replaced by another character that's less interesting, but
I think that's what happens actually, is if basically you failed in 2, they just replace them with other people. And they're like, yeah, hello, I'm Blaris. No relation to Garrus. Yeah. But I wouldn't
My
know
own
because
original
I
game.
didn't fail.
Don't look into it too hard because it'll kind of like pull back the curtain.
yeah, it'll ruin the magic a little bit, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I at least my one playthrough of it, and that was a big time sink, but I think it paid off, and now I understand Mass Effect memes, which was really made it all worth it.
Glad that was the deciding factor.
There's not that many.
What, all three of them?
Yeah, probably.
All right, Gary, what did you play? Or no, Gary, Tyler. Losing my
Wow,
order.
I can't believe you would do this.
No,
you
I'm
just-
sorry, King.
So, carrying on our JRPG here, there were two JRPGs that I wanted to play, but I didn't get around to that came out last year. One of which was Scarlet Nexus. It was exclusive to the Xbox for a while. Again, don't own an Xbox, so I couldn't play it. But I believe it is now on PlayStation and PC, so I'll have to pick that up eventually. The other game was Tales of Arise. I am a huge Tales fan, but I just did not have time to play it. It is literally on my shelf, unopened. I haven't even opened it to put in the PlayStation, but I'll play it eventually this year.
Please.
The other big JRPG was Final Fantasy 14.
Oh yeah.
With the Endwalker coming out. And I replayed through the entirety of Final Fantasy 14 from base game all the way to Endwalker. And it was like 400 hours or something to be playing again. So yeah, that took a little bit of time.
I said Mass Effect was my big time sink
it was
last
Final
year,
Fantasy.
but that's a lie. It was Final Fantasy 14.
I played from Heaven's Ward on. I think what happened was I played up to ARR previously, and I finished ARR, but I was really trying to get through it because somebody kept telling me that, the DLCs are really good. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I just got burnt out by the end, so I stopped playing. But then I came back and I thoroughly enjoyed my experience onward, and especially with Shadowbringers on in Endwalker. Holy crap, that stuff was good.
Yeah, Shadowbringers is it's rough
the
because
quality.
It's like Shadowbringers was really where everything turned around for me, and I'm like, oh, now we're talking. But that's the fourth expansion, so you have to go through
300 hours in, or like 200 hours in,
and that's if you're just blowing through content.
Yeah.
No, that's the issue. I'm always trying to get people to play it, which isn't necessarily fair of me because it's a big time sink and kind of a big money sink too, because you have the subscription and everything. But it's so good. It gets so good. Shadowbringers and Endwalker is so freaking good. And even I like Heaven's Word a lot, and I'm one of the weird ones that actually likes A Realm Reborn because I played beta of A Realm Reborn and was playing it on release on PS3, and I can't believe the PS3 even ran that game.
That's insane. I'm on a PS3 though. There's a huge novelty in that.
It was neat, but I mean, I play on PC now. But the just from that, I enjoy the base game all the way from then to now. So I'm obviously a shill for it, with the one exception. But I don't want to talk about that because this is happy times. But if you are even remotely curious about playing Final Fantasy 14, I believe they're starting up the free trial again soon, in the next couple of weeks. You could do that. And my biggest piece of advice is, if you're gonna play it, take it at whatever pace you feel like. If you ever want to do just 2 quests in a single day and only play 30 minutes, do that. Because if you do what Grep did and you try to just blow through
you'll
story,
burn out hard.
You will burn out so fast because there's just so much content in 14.
I recommend, I really recommend trying to find a person or two to play with, because you can play with even if your friend is max leveled, they can play through all the earlier dungeons with you. So at least you'll have someone to talk about the experience with while you're going through. And I had Tip going through it in ARR, but even then it was still a very, very slow experience in the base game. But yeah, definitely take it at your own pace. It is worth it in the end.
Yeah,
but
I would agree.
You do have to be open to the fact that it will be slow, because it's from a humble beginning. You're an MMO character from a humble beginning. You were a literal nobody in the beginning to being the hero of the world at the end. And it takes the time you would think it would normally take in the real world to do that. Honestly.
I mean, yeah, you're just a random person.
Adventures.
Yeah, 5
you're
adventures.
finally awake.
I mean, yeah, you're literally just a random immigrant, and they're like, "What are you here for?" And you're like, "I'm looking for a job." They're like, "Okay, go sweep some floors." And it's you literally start like that, and then by the end, you're basically the savior of the world. Yeah. Everyone knows your name because you're the coolest dude ever.
The thing is it wouldn't really pay off without that humble beginning either. So it is kind of necessary, even if all that you put in the time and you get you get a lot out of it. So, you know,
But it is a lot of time.
it's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm pretty. After going through 4 expansions, though, I'm pretty burnt out again. Though I was very happy with the ending of Endwalker, and I'm kind of like, you know, like empty inside now after it's all over. So I'll wait to see what they have, and maybe I'll pick it back up again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm burnt out too. I wasn't just playing it literally moments before we started this podcast or anything. I won't be playing it as soon as this podcast.
You guys are nuts. I can't believe y'all. Ryan doing Beast Tribe quest nonstop for like 3 weeks straight. I don't know how you do it.
It just paid off literally today, Gary. I got the Namazu mask.
Congrats on the mask, dude.
I
hope
got
it.
the funny mask.
I honestly hope it was worth it, but not in a sarcastic sense. I really do hope it.
You get other things too, which is, I mean, it's all about this. It's all about the experience, you know.
Sure, buddy. I too
deep.
love doing the same 3 quests every day for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I probably, now that I've done that, I could take a Beast Tribe quest
Beast
break,
Tribe
but yeah, Beast Tribe break, but
nice.
we'll have to do a Final Fantasy episode or 14 episodes.
Yeah, we could totally do a whole episode on Final Fantasy 14 and our experiences.
They would have to have a ton of spoiler warnings.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But that was really the last thing that I played last year. I didn't play a whole lot of stuff last year because the stuff that I did play, like Final Fantasy 14, I just sunk time into.
So much time.
Or
Yeah.
I played through the game 3 times. Like Metroid Dread, I've played through 3 or 4 times now. The Ender Lilies, I played through like 3 or 4 times. I just kept playing the same stuff over and over last year because I just didn't see a whole lot that came out last year that I was interested in.
I had another big title. I had Resident Evil Village came out, and I know you guys aren't really Resident
we're
Evil
not
guys,
really Resi fans.
but that is a huge title in the survival horror genre. Essentially, one of the only ones.
I watched you play a little bit of it.
So
like the very beginning, and it looked really like, I don't like survival horror at all, and I was still interested in like actually playing that and purchasing it. So it looked good.
you just haven't played any good survival horror.
I guess that what? No, how dare you? Because you know the one survival horror game I like.
Silent Hill.
Okay, so there's 2 survival horror games.
What was the other one?
It's Dead Space.
Dead Space. Dead Space is good too. So you have Dead Space, Silent Hill, and Resident Evil are the only good ones, really. I'm just kidding. There's definitely more. But Village, it was kind of 7. So I guess I have to preface this. 7 took a pretty big turn, but also a return to form of the series, because after the problems with 6 making it too actiony and too like kind of, you know, like Michael Bay film-esque, they wanted to turn it back. So 7 was, they put you back in a house, survival horror, you had puzzles, you had limited inventory, but it was in a first person view, which was kind of different. So some fans were pretty mixed on it, but in general it was a pretty good reception. With 7, they kind of remade Resident Evil 4 in a way, the same way they remade Resident Evil 1 with Resident Evil 7. I know I'm saying a lot of words right now, it's kind of confusing, but Resident Evil 8 Village is essentially Resident Evil 4 in spirit, but using like the style of Resident Evil 7. And I think it worked out really, really well. All the areas, even though they kind of blew their load in the first quarter of the game with the castle with the, you know, crazy vampire lady, the entire game was extremely fun to play. Very suspenseful, real good survival horror elements, and a ton of good exploration and managing your resources. It was everything I wanted out of a Resident Evil game. And even though it was only like 10 hours long, there's a ton of replay value. Difficulties, there's mercenaries mode. There's a lot of stuff to keep you there if you really enjoy the game. And I think it was just an extremely solid entry, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
Do you think it'll still be what is it, Ethan? His name's Ethan, right? Main character?
I can't spoil anything for you, but yeah, I'm just not gonna say anything.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
There's a lot of stuff that happens in Resident Evil 7, because everything that anyone, if you haven't played Resident Evil 7, the only thing you've seen from not 7, sorry, I keep saying 7, it's Village is 8. Jeez, because they did the I and then the LL makes 3 ones. So VII is 8. Sorry about that.
Naturally.
So Resident Evil Village, anything anyone's seen about it if they haven't played it is just from the first quarter of the game. There's a whole 3/4 of the game people haven't seen. A lot of stuff goes on during that 3/4 that I don't want to spoil.
You're gonna make me play this stupid game. I have to play 7 first. Oh my god.
It's very, very good. Seven's very fun as well. It's a good experience, and they don't take that long to complete. It's like they're both like 10 to 12 hours if you're like going at a normal pace. But they're very, very solid. There's never really too much downtime, but it still keeps that atmospheric. You don't feel like you're getting chased after every 2 seconds like an action game like our RE6. Very fun game. And I mean, so previously they did Resident Evil 2 remake, which was pretty different from the original Resident Evil 2, but all in all was probably my favorite game in the series. Just because of how good it is. Like just like the quality and the atmosphere. I don't really know how to explain it, but just I would say just play all the new Resident Evil games that Capcom's been coming out with. They're doing a really good job with them. Yeah. Ryan, any other last games you got that you played last year?
Yeah, I got 2 more. I did I finally I missed the boat on this hardcore like I do most games, but I finally played Undertale.
Wow.
Oh, finally.
Yeah.
You're only 6 years late.
More than that, I think.
No, it's 2015 to 2020.
Oh, is it really? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
young.
Deltarune came out, and I was like, I gotta
But you didn't play Deltarune.
I haven't played Deltarune, but I was like, I gotta freaking play Undertale now that Deltarune's a thing. And
Hot take. Deltarune's better, so get on that.
It's not a hot take. It's a correct take.
Yeah, so I did that. Oh, hey, I had a lot of fun with that. I get the hype. It was a blast. Good music, good mechanics, lots of fun.
There's a ton of charm to it. It was like one guy, essentially, Toby Fox, did pretty much the entire thing with help from some other people doing smaller parts, but he essentially programmed, I think, the whole thing.
My only real complaint with it, and I didn't bother doing it because I just couldn't. After playing, I did the neutral route and then like the good route, and then I was like, all right, how do I do the bad route? And it looks like such a chore to do that I'm like, I can't be bothered to do
It's
that.
not as bad as it sounds. Like, yeah, you have to go around and kill everything like 100 times,
Yeah.
but like it goes by relatively quickly, and it's an interesting experience. You looked it up though, right?
I haven't watched the ending because I wasn't sure if I would eventually get to the point where I wanted to do that.
You may want to take a day to do it. It's really not too bad.
No.
It sounds bad that you have to keep getting random encounters until nothing's around, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, maybe at some point I'll do that. But I did the first 2. I think I played through it twice in one day, and I finished.
That's a
and I was
burnout.
like,
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing.
I
doing
did
this
that
a third time.
I played through Deltarune
Published.
Chapter 2 like 3 times in a weekend, and I was definitely feeling burnt out by the end of that.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't do that, but I had a blast doing it though.
Yeah, so I did that, and hopefully I'll get to Deltarune sooner than later. I feel like I say that about every
It's-
game that I played it last
It's
year. I'll get to the next
free,
one later.
and a single playthrough is like what, a couple hours? Probably.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
What, Deltarune?
Yeah.
Yeah, Deltarune's
Each chapter is like a couple hours, I think.
like
Two or three.
depending on how slow you are, I'd say 3-ish.
Yeah,
3
the
to maybe
dialogue.
5?
Dialogue is some of the funniest dialogue I've ever seen in a game ever. They're so on point with the meta jokes, and they just hit every joke.
There are 2 characters in Deltarune Chapter 2 specifically that basically
So
every line that comes out of their mouths. I was
good,
like, I
I
can't
know.
believe that's a real line in a video game.
No. And yeah, I mean Undertale, Deltarune, they get pretty dark. So even if they're pretty, like 3 pixels on the screen and funny and lighthearted most of the time, it's pretty darn dark, and it makes me actually not want to do the dark routes in the future games. I don't think I'm actually going to do the dark routes because it genuinely ruins the feel good experience. That's how bad the Deltarune dark routes are.
There's
Dark Knight.
definitely, it seems like some emotional whiplash because the good ending is very fuzzy, warm and fuzzy good feelings.
They make you feel like a scumbag.
Great.
They do such a good job of doing that.
You will hate yourself after
You
doing
will.
bad
You
endings.
literally will hate yourself for doing that. So I'm literally not doing the evil paths in the future Deltarune chapters. I'm just gonna look it up.
It's funny.
But they're very interesting. I will say that.
Yeah, so I did that, and then the other game I played was award-winning Game of the Year. It Takes Two.
Oh yeah, I played that too.
Who'd you play that with?
I played that with somebody you guys don't know.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
You-
I guess we're,
Let's see.
That's oh,
we're not
Oh,
cool
no.
enough. It's fine. Whatever.
that's sad.
Well, they asked if I wanted to play it, so I was like, sure, why not? And then we had a good time doing it. So
Nice.
yeah, no, it's this game, you know, of course the joke, you know, it won Game of the Year, which is really funny because it's made by that one guy who gets drunk at every game award and then shouts into the microphone.
Starts screaming like obscenities at the mic,
Yep.
and you're like, I can't tell if this is funny or cringe or a little bit of both. Maybe I don't know.
It's a little bit
Yeah,
of both.
but that team made this game, and it is wild because it's so much fun and it's such a good different experience from what I expected. And I remember getting through playing the game and being like, man, like this isn't like a huge AAA title, and you know we've been playing this for a while and having a good time. And it felt like it was like I'm like we gotta like be close to the end though, and we weren't even halfway through it. I was like, holy, how could they keep introducing like because every time there's like
all new,
chapters and
yeah.
Yeah.
each chapter introduces like new ways that you play through the levels while like still like feeling like it's all like in the same game, and just the things that they do is super creative and it just keeps going, and I loved every second of it. It was
Wish I had a wife to play that with.
Yeah, it sucks for you. I mean,
Sucks.
I played it with a roommate, so worked for me. But I really enjoyed it. It's just yeah, they had so many different ideas for the mechanics. Each mechanic felt fleshed out as you like got to it. Like you had to work together. Obviously, It Takes Two, and like use each character's mechanic to like work together. And if you didn't necessarily like vibe with that mechanic, don't worry because you only use each one for like maybe an hour or so, and you just get to the next thing. And it felt really good just like going through them, and none of them really felt like gimmicks or really felt like underdeveloped. They all felt good enough where like you could probably make an entire game using any of those mechanics and have fun. And they were like, nope, here's 24 different mechanics over 10 chapters or whatever it was. And I had a blast too playing through it. I think honestly, I think my only complaint is as we were getting close to the end, we being my roommate and me, as we were getting close to the end, I was sitting there, I looked over at him and was like, are we done with the game? Like, I think this is the final section.
You guys have been cranking away at that for quite a long time.
We only played like one chapter per month. It was pretty funny, but the
But you can do that.
we finally like got to the end. I was like, I think the game is ending, and it kind of felt like the ending is good, but I was just like, I wish there was like one last like really big thing that happens, because I was like watching the cutscenes and stuff, and I looked over, I was like, man, I think we're watching the final cutscene. Like, I think the game is actually over.
Was it like it felt like any other chapter, maybe?
Kind of. It's hard to explain without like actually
conclusion was a little
explaining.
weird.
It's hard to explain without like getting into like how the game ends. But
Okay, yeah,
it was
don't
just
spoil it for me.
I wish that there was like just like one last like little thing, and then there's like the final cutscene, and it starts playing out, and the credits are rolling. And he looks over, and he's like, you know what? I think it is over. Like, obviously.
Yeah.
But I still have fun with it. I'm glad. I forgot I played that, so I'm glad you brought that
Yeah.
up.
It's a good time, and
Yeah, you only
it's
played
like,
Game of the Year.
Yeah, play Game of the Year, and it's also like you play through the game as these two characters, and when you go into a level, one character will usually do like a certain mechanic, and the other character will do like something different, and you have to work in tandem with each other. So like I played as the dude through the first my playthrough, but I would be like totally down to play it again if I get to play as the other character, just to experience those like other mechanics, because there are just certain things that the other character gets to do that like the other one doesn't get to do, and vice versa. So
Yeah.
Asymmetrical is really cool. I love asymmetrical co-op.
yeah,
I guess you could really play through that game twice and still mostly have an entirely different experience.
yeah,
Just
you'd know how to
because-
like solve a lot of the puzzles, but you'd still be
It would help if you played it a second time with someone who hadn't played it yet. So
Yeah,
you would
yeah,
have
yeah,
new
yeah.
mechanics, and they could still try to solve the puzzles, and you could like help them if they're not sure. That'd be pretty fun.
that would be fun.
But yeah, you could play that with someone, grab somebody, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe
Perhaps.
maybe someday.
I'd be down, but
Those are all my games.
I got a few more. Just like smaller. I got some indie titles that
There you go. Rapid fire round. Hit us with it.
rapid fire round. First one, Cruelty Squad came out last year. That's a weird game. I don't know how to explain it. Essentially, somebody barfed on the screen, and that's your UI.
I've seen you play that on Discord sometimes, and I'm just like, what am I even looking at?
It's such a unique experience. So the best way to explain it is it's an immersive sim. So kind of like Deus Ex or Hitman, where you're kind of thrown into a level. You need to kill a target or 2 or 3, and you can do it any way you want. You bring in whatever equipment you want or whatever, but all the equipment you got is really weird. Like you can use your appendix as a grappling hook. It's called a appendix. It's great. All the weapons feel really satisfying. Everyone dies in like one shot, and you also die in like 2 shots too. It's a very strange game that has some even stranger statements about like society. It's actually deeper than it looks. Like, and I didn't expect to get any meaning out of it, but there's a few different endings on it, and it has some things to say. And I highly recommend it just for the shock value alone, even if you're not into that style of game, because it's fun to look at. And the soundtrack is such a it's like someone's like shooting TV static into your ear. I don't really know how to explain it. It's abrasive and different, but it grows on you. The game grows on you over time in a way I can't really explain.
Interesting.
So there's that. The next thing I played was Amazing Cultivation Simulator. If you're a fan of Seth on YouTube, the funny guy, hey people. He went over that, and there's like 3 trillion mechanics based upon Chinese wuxia novels and the Taoism and stuff. And it's really interesting because you essentially need to go get a degree in that stuff before even being able to play this game, and like stuff like feng shui and all that noise. So I mean, I've been learning a ton about Eastern culture through this. I'm still making my way through it. I'm like 50 hours in, and I haven't even gotten to the core of the game yet. If that's even hard to believe. I don't really know how to explain it. It's like if you played RimWorld or Dwarf Fortress, it's that style of gameplay, but really, really focused on like Chinese mythology and stuff like that. So it's really cool. And they're making a second one, so that's in 3D. So that's pretty sweet.
Oh god, that'd be even more complicated.
And actually, it's actually getting less complicated because you're only going to be focusing on one guy, I think. Instead of a whole society of people. Yeah, which I appreciate, because I'm not a huge fan of the whole base building genre, but it's interesting enough to keep me coming back. But it's hard. It's real hard. And then I think the last thing I want to mention was a DLC for one of my favorite roguelikes, Binding of Isaac. Binding of Isaac got a DLC called Repentance. My bad.
You got it.
It essentially doubled the game. It added literally more than 2 times the amount of characters. Like 100 to 200 more items on top of the 700 item pool. 2 of the hardest bosses like ever, and like just there's so much to do in Repentance that it's essentially an entirely new game. And it surprises me how they can keep adding stuff to Binding of Isaac and it's still not actually feel like it's gotten out of control. I feel like it's at the limit though. I really hope they don't add anything else to it, because it's definitely hit that wall.
Well, they're not going to listen to you. Now you're going to do one final DLC.
And I hope they surprise me again, honestly. The fact that you can have so much in a game and it still just click is amazing to me. And it kind of ruined all other roguelikes for me. Like I can go, like I thoroughly enjoy Enter the Gungeon, and what did I play? I played Dead Cells recently, and even if I enjoy them, I still feel like they don't even compare at all to Isaac, just because of how the game is structured. Like it's more of a memorization, not a memorization game, but you get game knowledge the more you play, and the more game knowledge you have, the more consistently you can complete runs, and the more risky of endings you can go for and stuff like that. And so like your goal is to try your main goal, I guess, is to try and complete every ending with every character on hard mode. And doing that is a pretty fun game loop. And you keep unlocking new items for every completion you do, and doing random stuff. And it's a constant feedback loop of new gameplay experiences.
Yeah, it's hard for other roguelikes to match up to that.
It-
It doesn't
hard.
help that Isaac's technically been out for years and years now,
Mhm.
so they've had all that time to add all the content. But yeah, the other ones just they feel lacking in comparison, just because
Yes.
there's so much content.
Especially with Dead Cells. Like I really enjoy Dead Cells. The game
It's fun.
feels it's really tight
It's
gameplay.
very smooth.
The problem is that a lot of the upgrades and stuff and this happens with a lot of roguelikes, a lot of the upgrades feel kind of samey. I'm still doing the same movements. I'm still doing the same dodging and shooting mechanics. Whereas in Isaac, I can one game I'll be doing like a laser build where I have homing lasers that can wipe an entire room. The other next game I'll be shooting bombs out as my primary fire method. Another game I'll be like standing still and being invincible while like my buddies do all the work or whatever. You do a buddy build. Like there's so much build variety that it doesn't feel samey from time to time. But yeah, those were my spiels for a bunch of indie game stuff going on. Go check those out if you're into the more indie genres. But yeah, that's 2021, baby. Let's hope 2022 has some good stuff. We got some stuff coming around the corner. We got Monster Hunter DLC. We got a ton of stuff. Nintendo Direct came out crazy. We did a thing on Nintendo Direct. Go check that out. We got
A few more
Kirby.
days actually after this releases will be Elden Ring.
Elden
And I know
Ring.
Both of us are very excited for that. So
Oh my gosh.
2022 is already looking up.
I cannot wait for Elden Ring.
Oh my god.
I'm getting that on PlayStation, I think. Because why not?
Why not?
Well, I mean, their PC releases have been kind of dodgy usually from when they first come out.
Dark Souls 3 is pretty good. Dark Souls 3 has a ton of good mod support too. Like I have that whole rework mod for Dark Souls 3 that takes it essentially into an entirely different game. So I'll be playing through that eventually. But yeah, can't wait though.
Yeah, I even said I didn't play a whole lot. Like I just kept playing games that I played before or games that I beat last year, and I decided to just keep playing it over and over again. But this year,
I'm excited
I'm
for new stuff.
looking forward to all the new things coming out because 2022 seems utterly stacked in comparison to 2021. So this year should be an excellent year, and this conversation will be way more interesting when and we'll just talk about Metroidvanias for 20 minutes.
We had some good stuff. I feel like it was pretty good. But yeah, let us know what you guys are looking forward to in 2022 and what was your favorite game of 2021. Put it in the comments below. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace out, gamers.
Catch you later.
Gamers.